It says recording. Yeah.
And here we go.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Scandal Podcast. I'm Langston Smith, and I'm sitting in for creator and hostess of the Scandal Podcast, Jaha Knight, because she's a busy lady these days. And this week marks the return of the Scandal Podcast after a brief hiatus. And with this week's episode, we begin a slightly new format, reviewing 3 Scandal episodes per podcast. I'm joined today by a regular Scandal Podcast member, our lady from across the pond in the UK, and our special guest team member this week from Jacksonville, Florida. Ladies, please introduce yourselves and tell them who you are and what you do and how you occupied your time during the break.
I'm Katrina Pavela, and you can find me on Tumblr, katrinapavela.tumblr.com, and also on Twitter at #1feeling, and that's the number 1, not spelled out. And during the break, I actually spent time off of Tumblr. I spent a little bit more time on Twitter, and I tried to just figure out what I had seen in 509. Partly, and then just take a break from the fandom and hang out and read and focus on my studies. Yeah.
And Miss Jacksonville, how about you? Tell us who you are, what you...
I like this. I'm Cassandra Schutz. I didn't do anything through the hiatus. I did not watch any Scandal at all because I was really, really mad. And I'm doing it. So, watching it, I caught up on different shows and watched some different shows. And I basically chilled on the Scandal. Okay. All that.
And where can they find you on Twitter?
Oh, what is my Twitter handle? Oh, yes. Twitter handle is you can find me at BrightEyes1105.
Okay. And I am Langston Smith, as I said earlier, and you can find me on Twitter at Langston Smith. So basically what I did during the break was I reviewed a few, went back and kind of reviewed some of the previous episodes during the break, just so I could keep on top of it. I did try to stay off of social media a little bit during that period. Specifically any social media scandal related, because with the ratings dropping, there's been a lot of yip yap about that, and I was tired of hearing it, so I kind of stayed off until the show actually began. So now that we're done with that part, let me just tell you guys that we are live and we are recording, but you can still ask us any questions and we'll address them later during our Q&A section. And we'll make other announcements throughout the episode if need be. And if you or your friends want to watch us live on the regular, please visit and follow and like us at Scandal Podcast on Twitter or Facebook. And you can click on our current blab post, whatever that may be, whatever date that may be. And I'll go through the calendar and tell you when our next one will be. And you can watch us live and in color on your computer screen or on your mobile device. And again, there's a Q&A feature, a live chat feature on Blab, and you can ask us questions both through the live chat section, also on Twitter. You can make commentary there as well. So now
what is comfortable for her, and fixing is the only identity that she really clings to. And when we come back, you can start to see how this thing is this front that she has put up and this supposed best foot forward that she's putting is piece by piece starting to kind of fall apart, and people are beginning to question her about, like, what are you doing, or what is this lie that you're telling yourself? Her father tells her she's overcompensating, and then Abby, the scene that she has with Abby, which I'll talk about later when we get to the other thing, but that's the main thing I want to say, is that I came back and I breathed. I felt like, okay, this is good. I feel like we're going to go somewhere really good with the rest of the season, especially for Olivia and for Fitz too, but especially for Olivia.
Right. And for me, I honestly just felt, like it's turning a page. I literally feel like the last couple of seasons, what we end up getting is a two chapter season rather than just, having a complete, straight one storyline straight through. It's like they're giving us two options, for each season now. So I felt like this was almost like a reboot because the last couple of seasons, I mean, you know what? But I'm just saying after B613, people wanted that to die. She killed.
Oh God, yeah.
She killed it. Then a lot of people were still on the fence regarding Olitz, versus Olake or whatever, and a lot of people just. She kept, I was reading the tweets, I'm sure you guys were too, where people were still, I'm so over them, I'm so over them, I'm so over them. So then, then she gives you At Last, and you're thinking, oh, they're finally going to get together, but she pulled a whammy, and it's At Last, it's over, really, to be quite honest. And although we know, no, I'm just saying, I don't believe it's over, but I'm just saying it was like at the end, you get this, we see them together at the top, then all of a sudden it's over before the break. And so, but we know as viewers, we see what's really happening.
That's interesting. So you think that people could interpret the At Last as At Last, I'm done with this shit. Like
that's because that was like, because at the same time you had one group of people who were upset that, oh wait, well, what happened? And then you had the other group was like, oh, finally, okay, good, I'm over it.
Yeah.
But the people are split down. I think people are split down the middle. But that was just a thought.
Together, if and when they get back together or whatever, I'm gonna roll my eyes. I'm gonna be like,
I'll tell you right now. I'm rolling my eyes. I've been rolling my eyes like all through the break. Every time I see an O-Laker, I put this in quotes because like these people have never really been a couple. They've like been faking things like all along. But whenever I remember seeing a post during the break on Tumblr, and it was after the preview, like the promo for 510 came out. And they posted like shots of, Olivia jumping on Jake, like for the elevator. Yeah. And the person was like, vindicated, and I was like, bitch, you're gonna be real mad because they are not together. Olake is not happening. I'll tell you right now. And I just wrote a post about this whole thing.
So now let's switch gears because we're gonna get to all of that. So now everybody, we're going for a little bit of a new segment. It's new, but it's old, but we've actually given it a name. And so now it's time for Cash or Trash, where we talk about our favorite or least favorite moments in the episode. And if it's cash, it's on the money. And if it's trash, it could have just stayed on the cutting room floor. So in this episode, ladies, what scenes, through lines, or moments would you cash or trash? And what would you want to see more of?
Can I? I'll let you go. Because I think I'm fairly predictable.
That is disgusting display of how did I'm gonna quote Specs and say incescapades.
I like that.
Literally wanted to pluck my eyes out when I saw that. I was just like, this is nasty. It wasn't hot. It was just them boning. And that
100.
The drop. First of all, from the musical interlude, the music that underscored it, to the dropping to the knees, it was like, what the hell?
Not even just the dropping to the knees. Did you see that he pushed her down? Like he guided her down, like on her shoulder. Right. I missed that the first time. So when I was like, you motherfucker. Yeah, he really is a tramp. Yeah.
My head down.
Yeah, he pushed her down by the shoulder, like you know what to do. Like, you're gross. I mean, obviously. If it was somebody else, I'd be excited, but
That was my top trash moment. Any other trash would be anything with her and Papa Pope. I'm over them too. I'm done with them. Let me see if I can pick out a good one. Cash, I would put. Um, I don't know. For 10 was just an okay episode for me, so I didn't really particularly not enjoy anything, and I wasn't really overjoyed in anything. So you can go ahead with that, Katrina.
Oh, did you want to go next, Langston? Because I have.
Oh well, I was going to say like my cash moment for me was the sequence where they were checking into what was happening with this with starting with the introduction all the way to figuring out who was basically I guess I would call this my cash through line is just a through line from the moment of introduction of the NSA director and the case all the way up to the point that they figured out who it could possibly be, even though we know what the outcome was on that. So
I like the case. Mm-hmm. I like the case. I would say that my trash is definitely the same as Cassandra's. So every moment of fluid exchange between Olivia and Redacted can get fucking trash for me. They're pure pornography and not even the kind that like gets me going. So fuck them. And they're fucking. But I have a couple of cash scenes. Lord, I wanted to cash the scene between Olivia and Abby. I loved how Abby basically was like, girl, you lying. You're not calling him because you care about his feelings. You ain't calling him because you are afraid that he's actually going to pick up and you might have to talk to him. And then y'all going to start doing this back and forth shit again because basically you still love him and you're still like susceptible and vulnerable to him. And then obviously the scene that kind of follows on from that after Abby leaves, when she calls, and her face is so hurt because he doesn't pick up. And I was hoping that he wouldn't pick up. I really wanted to see him say to Charlotte, tell her I'm busy or I'm unavailable. Like, I just wanted to see that. They left that part out, which was fine. And just like her face, the disbelief. I loved it. I was like, I don't know what you think this is. Right.
But let's see. Nope, I don't know who that is. So for me, another cash through line would be the work wife through line for Abby with the constant calls for Fitz. They were hilarious. They were, all the way up to the point where she was just like, no, we're not doing this. My favorite out of that whole situation was the very last one when he called and he's like, well, let's go over my schedule and blah blah blah. She was like, she was like, and the next thing she's in the Oval Office. He's like, you hung up on me. She goes, yes, I did.
I love how Abby stands up for herself.
Right, we're not doing this. I'm going down the hall where I can get some real work done. Mm-hmm. We're not doing this anymore.
But so what I like about that with Abby is that Abby still respects Fitz. Like, she can stand up for herself, but she still respects him as her boss and someone she works with, and also as a man. But there's like a line for her. You know what I mean? Cyrus would have read him for filth and made him feel like extremely small if he was doing that shit with him. So I love the Abby and Fitz dynamic. Just once again, Scandal Writers, I mean, not like you're going to watch this, but moving Abby to the White House was just pure fucking gold.
Okay. I'm just going to say this one more time. I know that whoever you are, you're very excited and you want to get on. But again, we're holding this seat for a regular team member. If we get halfway through it, it looks like she's not going to come in, then we may open the seat, but right now the seat is being held. So thank you so much for your enthusiasm, but please hold on. So
yes, Lost Cherry Ritz all the way. I am Team Ritz. I ship Ritz just like I ship Fusen. I hope to see more Fusen.
Okay, so now we come to our game-changing moment. Was there a game-changing moment in this episode for you, and what was it?
For me, I don't know if it will prove to be game changing, in that way, but not the fact that Jake gets name to NSA head. But the fact that we find out his middle name is Hamilton, it almost took me out the game because one, I was like, now, scandal writers, y'all done pull some shit in your time, but you gonna give this motherfucker Hamilton's namesake when he ain't got a brilliant bone in his body? But then I was like, oh, did they name him Hamilton because he's gonna die? I really hope so. So that's a potential game-changing moment for me, because how you gonna get named after Hamilton all of a sudden and not die? Please die.
Here's a quick question, because I don't know. I don't remember. I definitely remember Hamilton, but did they call him Jacob or just Jake Hamilton?
No, they call him Jacob Hamilton Ballard.
That's
and Jacob Ballard is an alias anyway. We still don't. We only know. Hey, girl, you're kicking me in my stomach. We only know, guys, sorry, my dogs are here and Olivia's kicking me in the stomach.
We know he was possibly adopted, right? Or something like that, or?
Well, he's not really adopted. His story is basically that he had a trash bot. Like, I think he's from like a white trash kind of working class background. His mom was like a QVC addict. His father, I think I remember him saying something about growing up in a trailer park or something like that. Yeah, he like his parents like didn't really have a good dynamic. I don't know what happened to his dad, but he did not get along with his father. He still loves his mother and supports her, so that's like the only good thing in his book for me. And and he has like a sister. That's his last name is, what is it? It's Cooper, right? That's his real surname, but we don't know what his first name is.
And Cassandra, any game-changing moments for you?
I think the obvious one when Liv decided to help Mellie with her book. That was a game changer. Yeah. I'm probably in the minority in this, but I actually want them to work together. I'm actually here for it all the way.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into that relationship.
Yeah, we'll get into it in the next episode.
Because that's where it really went powerful. For me, game changing moments it's a blend of both the Jake being named to the NSA director position and Mellie Olivia making the decision that she's going to help Mellie, because I think the two of them go hand in hand, because ultimately I think that's the reason that Olivia actually made that decision, is because she was ultimately pissed at both her dad and Jake that they pulled this whammy on her when Jake knew what she was working on, and which also goes to the fact of, why are you still sleeping with him? Because he was clearly playing you, to distract you from the fact that he was doing what he was doing. I
have a theory. We'll get into it in the next episode.
Okay. And so this right now, I'm going to do a quick call out for audience questions and comments. Again, you can do that in live chat or in Twitter. And Cassandra is looking out for live chat, and I will be looking for Twitter. And so far, I haven't seen anything scrolling. So start asking questions if you like, and Cassandra will take note of those and we'll try to get to you when we get to that segment right after we start talking about our character development. So who was your favorite character? Who was your MVP in this episode, and why?
Episode was Abby for me.
Mine too.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on Abby. Yeah, definitely.
Basically told him, stop being such a needy bitch. Leave me alone.
Like, I'm a person, and I need to sleep, and you need to stop.
Exactly. It's like, please let me. Literally 2:00 in the morning. No, you're not. No, we're not having that. We're not having that at all. So let's go to our next question. Who was your least favorite character, or your MIP? Most invaluable,
most useless character.
Most useless character, MUC. Who was your MUC in this episode, and why?
Obviously.
Okay, I'll go different and say Papa Pope. I'm just tired of him. Okay, you're diabolical. We get it. Okay. So,
But we'll see where they take him now that he's a regular. So, at
I'm
one
so
point,
interested in where that's gonna go.
yeah,
Like, I
because
really am.
I'm hoping we'll eventually get some backstory on him, other than just like what we heard in the expose, because we all know that he's more than what they said in the expose on Olivia. So it would be interesting to catch his backstory. What about you, Katrina? Who was your least favorite?
Well, I could say
The
Jake
obvious.
or redacted. That right. I should just call it the obvious right now. But I mean, they actually made use of him in the episode, besides as a sex toy for Olivia. But I think in the episode at the time, I thought that Cyrus was the least useful character in the episode, because he wasn't doing much. But because Cyrus is such a pivotal player in the series overall, it made me uncomfortable, because I thought Cyrus is not up to anything good if he is hanging back like this much. He's doing something shady. And sure enough, we come to find out in episode 11. So yeah, if I look at it a different way, for me it was Cyrus, and it's just because I was curious about what is going on here. Something seems very strange to me with him.
Okay, so now we have come to our Q&A section real quick, and I just noticed a question from Tula Rosebud.
Yeah.
Did you see it, Cassandra?
Yeah, I got it. At Tula Rosebud says or asks, why didn't Olivia know right away that something was up when Jake and Papa lived together? What happened to the gut? That's common sense.
Well, I have an answer. I have an answer to that. And that, to me, I believe, isn't that also the episode? That's the episode where obviously Huck had come over unannounced once and caught them together. Then he came over again and told her that he was living with Papa Pope. I don't think she knew until Huck told her. But even after that, she still continued to sleep with him.
No. Olivia knew that Jake was living there from the scene with her father at dinner early. The first.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Because she said, I can't cut. He's like, you should come over, to the house. And she's like, I can't do that because he's there. So she knew that they were living together.
Right. So in answer to your question, Tula Rose, I don't know.
Can I answer that? Let me try to answer this very quickly, because like I said, I have a whole theory that I've been working on, me and Spectacles and Script, in our chats back and forth, about Rowan and Jake as this kind of umbilical cord in their relationship, Olivia and Rowan's relationship. And that it's not that Olivia's gut is so much broken, it's that Olivia isn't really trying to utilize her gut anymore with her father. She knows that she can't trust her gut with her father. And what she's trying to do now is look at him as Eli, her father, and not Rowan, this former command and man that is capable of so much evil and destruction, right? She's trying to sidle up to him as her father. So she is being willfully ignorant about some things and trying to focus on, power or progress or what it is she's doing. Except, to me, she's not really progressing anywhere in, like, moving on anywhere in her life. So she's being willfully ignorant right now, which is how she could know that Jake kills, her client's boyfriend, and then we see her sleeping with him again, because she doesn't have to try with Jake. You know what I mean? He's already in her dark and complicated world. She's not going to go. She doesn't want to date anyone because she doesn't want to try. She doesn't want to try with anybody. And Jake is there and available. He sees her for what she is. He knows all about her past and all about all the things that she's been struggling with. So she can just mentally kind of check out with him. And that's why she's doing it, because she's not really interested in challenging herself emotionally in those ways. She's just not. She's tapped out of it.
Okay. Are there any more questions before we tap out of this episode?
Ooh, nice segue.
We're about to switch over. So if anybody has any final thoughts, because I think we kind of really went over what our thoughts are on this particular episode. So I don't think it's any need to rehash anything. So unless anybody has any other questions, we're going on to episode 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll give a quick synopsis of episode 511, The Candidate. We open with Olivia advising Mellie to let the readers of her book into her deepest, darkest corners of her soul. And she wants her to tell the world why she stayed with Fitz after he discovered that she had taken up with a mistress. Was it ambition or love? Olivia realizes that Mellie doesn't know why she stayed with Fitz, and Mellie comes to realize that Olivia doesn't know why she left. She later unleashes some venomous words about the true nature of each of their relationships with Fitz. And we are also introduced to a possible new love interest for Fitz in the form of news reporter Lillian Forrester. So, and let me finish up. And eventually, through a much needed and cathartically drunken conversation, they realize why they each left or stayed, and now have the selling chapter for the book. While Mellie and Olivia are making presidential plans, Lizzie is working David to convince Susan to run, and Cyrus has his eyes on his own candidate for president. So, was the storyline for this episode compelling? Why or why not?
On a side note, you should have saw Katrina. Your eyebrow went up as soon as Langston said
Lillian Forrester.
It was like your
I did say I did say possible.
That was funny. Oh,
I'm ready to cut that bitch. Get away from me.
I thought, I did think it was compelling because obviously it was all three potential candidates, but I really thought they were just mainly focusing on Cyrus and his particular interest in, I can't remember what his name is on the show.
Francisco Lopez. Vargas.
Yep.
He was the main.
Don't turn into Trump, Katrina, and just start throwing out any Latino name.
No, you know what it is? No, I used to work with a Francisco Lopez. That's why. And,
okay.
That's why.
I mean, because obvious, of course, was Mellie and what's the girl? What's names are escaping me today. Susan Ross. Those were just obvious, but I think the quote unquote wild card in this particular episode was Vargas. So I did think that it was compelling on how Cyrus was just basically, I wouldn't even say stepping out on Fitz, because Fitz doesn't want or need him or even acknowledges his presence. So I don't think he even stepped out. I think he just realized that, okay, I'm no longer needed, and I'm just going to go and find my next little honey pot or sweet pot or whatever pot.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cyrus has given up on Fitz. So he went and found, a Latino version of Fitz back in the day, of Fitz, who was hungry and idealistic and all those things.
Because I think he's looking for that. I think, how it is, like when you first have that first glint of romance in your life, and it's like it's almost like a high, and you're trying to get it again. Yeah. And at one time he had that high from Fitz, and now ever since they had that falling out and Fitz fired him, and he practically came back and begged for his job and literally reminded him of who they used to be together, and and then Fitz kind of acquiesced and brought him back in, but yet he's still kind of got this wall up, and he's still not letting him back in, and he's he's hurting, and he can't handle it. So
Oh, sorry. What did you say, Cassandra?
I said his balls were rising as soon as he caught glimpses of Vargas. You saw that moment where his balls deflated when he was giving that whole speech to Fitz, and he was basically like, okay, are we done now? And you can just see his erection slowly like
Yeah.
going away. And as soon as he
Right.
went,
Because he, yeah, because
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say he came in there expecting to to light the fire in him again, and he just basically just kind of like brushed the embers off and said, "Yeah, we're done. Are we done here?" And Cyrus was like, "Okay."
Yeah, their relationship hasn't been the same since the end of season 4, and I think it's been made worse by what happened, the breakup between him and Olivia. Now, Fitz's walls are up for everyone. He's like, no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm so tired of this, because I think in his mind, he's reasoned that even the woman I love, I see the ways in which she manipulated me as well. And everybody has done this to me in my life, like more than once, and use the powers of this office for their own good. And he's kind of on a team me trip right now. And the fact that he's kind of almost out of office, he feels like, well, I can do this right now. Like, no one expects very much of me. So in some way, I don't want to say that he's in a low place, because I think he's in a really speculative place right now. And I'm okay with where he is, and it's understandable to me. I think the other thing that I wanted to say about this episode and the candidates is what it reveals is the ways in which some of these characters have, their only means to power is through someone else, right? Elizabeth is plotting her next move and tenuous hold on power by getting Susan to run, because, she was demoted essentially to chief of staff to the vice president after being chief of staff to the president. Cyrus is looking to make his next king so he can remain at the right hand of the throne. He's not ready to go lead a law department at Harvard, right? Or be president of Harvard. And and even in the Mellie and Olivia case, I said to people, the Olivia switching back to red wine at the end of 510, where, she invites Mellie back and says, I'll run your campaign. She essentially gives her a Rowan-esque monologue to kind of stoke her fire. And she tells him, her father saying, get yourself some power, some 1600 Pennsylvania power. And that's kind of all she has right now to hang her hat on. And so even Mellie is kind of her next conduit to power, because Olivia doesn't have anything else going on in her life but her business. And, that's the only remaining segment of her identity, and it's all of her focus. And having been made impotent in some ways by not having the proximity to that seat of power in in the White House, where she could call on Fitz to do her favors even when she wasn't talking to him, after fucking she throws a ring in his face, and she does the wedding at the White House. She calls him about her client and A Few Good Women, episode 421, and he still does, this has been a thing all throughout their relationship, where he still does things for her even when they're not on great terms. And it's reached a point where he's like, I don't want to be involved with you at all. This is, we're done, then we're done. And I think that that's appropriate for right now. But even with Olivia and Mellie is her conduit to power, or so she thinks right now. And I really sense that something is going to happen that's going to disrupt that working relationship. This is not going down a you and me girlfriend, feminism, hurrah, sisters doing it for themselves kind of angle. It just seemed real trite to me, and I don't think that that's where it's really going to end up.
Okay.
Hey, where are my hand claps at? Come on now.
Where's what?
Where are my hand claps? I want my hand clap.
I mean, so hand claps, clap, 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 clap.
There you go. There you go. So now it's time. Now it's time again for Cash or Trash. And again, this is where we talk about our favorite and least favorite moments in the episode. And if it's cash, it's on the money. And if it's trash, It should have been on the cutting room floor. So in this episode, what scenes, what through lines, or what moments would you cash or trash, and what would you want to see more of?
Cash all of the Mellie and Olivia scenes, only because we only get them in previous seasons. We only got them in like 2 to 3, maybe 5-minute increments. We never got like a full episode with just them, and I loved every bit of it. I loved from the opening when Olivia was like, "Hey, you asked for Olivia Pope, you got Olivia Pope."
Yeah, because then, because
was reading, I was like, yeah, okay, but you're wrong, Mellie. But okay, I'll give you whatever you're saying because you're the scorned wife and all that. So, but I enjoyed
the scorned wife who's still wearing her damn wedding ring.
Yeah. And this whole Mellie and Olivia scene in her apartment, all of that, Mellie speaking her truth, finally. Another cash scene was between her, Mellie and Cyrus. Because that again just shows how, Cyrus is gay, but he's still a man. He's still privileged. And he thinks that just because, he helped make Fitz president, that Mellie didn't have anything to do with that, when Mellie had just as much to do with that as he did. But he doesn't recognize that. He can't recognize that. So that was one of my other
okay. For me, I agree with you on the cashing of the Mellie and Olivia scenes, and largely because I disagree with a lot of people who were on the misconception that they were becoming buddy. That's not at all what was happening in there. What they're doing is coming to terms with what their relationship was previously, because there's no way you can work together until you resolve that.
Exactly.
And also you can't assume that happened over a 1-day period. Remember, scandal goes back and forth between days and weeks. So I'm going to say that was probably like a 2 to 3 day process between them. I think I just lost audio, so I'm going in and out. So
it
I'm going to
mean that shit won't come up in the future as well. Like, I want to say, I will say that one part of their scenes was cash for me, only because it was the first time we hear from Olivia something that was the truth and not something she was trying to convince herself was the truth, right? We heard so many lies and projections in the argument in 509. And in this conversation with Mellie, Olivia said, she left because she was scared. And that's true as shit. Like, she was. All the stuff that she did is because she was scared and she just really didn't know how to handle the situation she was in. She had really a crisis of identity that led to her going down a very familiar but yet again destructive path. And I liked what she said, because for the first time she wasn't blaming Fitz. She was taking responsibility for the fact of why she left. Nothing about, oh, he tried to cage me, nothing about tried to make me some wifey, or I was bored, or any of those things. It's like, I was scared. And it's like, you couldn't say that to this man. Like, why? What do you think is going to happen? So I liked it for that reason. But I want to draw people's attention to that there was still a lot of delusions coming out of Mellie's mouth. Regardless of the fact that there were also some truths about how it was working. Of course it was working. Like, some of us have said this like a long time ago. Like, she has no freaking incentive to like leave that marriage, because Fitz was, at least as far as she had conceived, he was her long-term plan, her long-term path to power, right? That she thought, I'm going to get something out of this, or you owe me. She gave herself up for this power so long ago. And in some ways, I don't want to say Cyrus is right, but it's because of Cyrus that she even like got into that circle of political power. It was remember, it was with Cyrus in 307 that she decides that she's going to quit her job at her law firm in order to like babysit Fitz to the governorship and eventually to the presidency, right? This is not something she discussed with Fitz. It was something she discussed with Cyrus, like behind Fitz's back. So
and to be quite honest, I'll just say this, Cassandra. Cyrus did do most of the heavy lifting in terms of the campaign outside of what Olivia was doing. It was honestly, that's why when he says we, because it was Cyrus who brought in, I'm sorry, remind me of his name, Hollis. It was Cyrus who brought in Hollis. And ultimately it was Cyrus and Hollis who came up with the plan to do the election rigging. And ultimately Mellie went along for the ride. Everybody went along for the ride on that. But it was Cyrus who did all the work on that. So I think, although they all could have gone down for it, I honestly feel like Cyrus feels strongly responsible for putting Fitz in the White House in that Oval Office chair more than anybody else because of that huge risk.
And Cyrus was the one that brought Olivia on that really got things going and turned the campaign around. So yeah, he has a lot. He should take credit for it.
Right. And then also everybody needs to also go back to the fact when we're discussing the idea of a partnership between Olivia and Mellie, that one from the very beginning, all the way as far as episode 7, or was it 6 of season 1, when Mellie, that's the first time Mellie quotes the word team, the phrase, we're a team. Yeah, 7, we're a team. And you fell down on the job. Yeah. You fell down on the job because at that time, we assumed that was the first time that Olivia was finding out that she knew about the affair. But then we were, flipped on our heads when we found out in 2 that she knew even earlier than that.
I didn't assume it was. I remember feeling really surprised at that scene when I first watched it because I thought, oh my God, this show is not insulting me. I thought, at first I thought, oh, here we go. It's going to be a mistress, wife showdown scene or some shit. And they just flipped it. And I was like, oh shit, there's more going on here with this relationship that I need to find out.
And Bellamy has this way of, half smiling and tilting that head that says, oh yes, bitch, I knew. Yeah. And, and she's done that several times throughout the run of the show, where you just go, she's just like, oh, you thought I was stupid? No, I'm not that stupid. And it's a through line throughout the seasons where it's clear. I believe it was also season 3 when we had the confrontation where Tom came to lead her to go speak with someone, and she thought she was going to meet some dignitary, and it turns out that it was Mellie. And once again, that team theme, and she was actually begging Olivia to come back. So it's this episode here, 511, the candidate, with their and there was there's so much multiplicity with that title, because there's actually three different things going on in terms of candidacy. But
each one was focused on their candidate, and
correct. And so therefore, again, the running theme again is this team, and Mellie brought that home with her final hooch speech, where she, she's half cocked on that hooch, but she's, finally telling her version of the truth, whatever that may be. And it's actually the most honest that she probably was in several seasons. Even in her tirades to Fitz, where she's always talking about, you're never there for me, or I sacrificed all of this stuff for you. There's a truth in Mellie's that for her.
Because she always thinks herself as the victim.
Yeah, there's a truth in that for her, but it's just not. For us, we know we see what we see, and she feels what she feels, and that's human behavior. Yeah. We're defensive. We're automatically defensive of ourselves. So that's just human behavior. So when people
And we have to maintain a story about ourselves that we tell ourselves in order to preserve our sense of self. And that's what Mellie has done for so long. Olivia does it too.
That we truly believe. Anything else on Cash or Trash?
What did I say I wanted to trash? I would, oh God, David and Elizabeth, I could trash that. Oh, can I have one more Cash? I really could have used a little bit more in future scenes of Susan Ross shading Mellie Grant. I was like, yes, she did it back in season 4 when basically she said, I think it was 4:19. Yeah, I'm just a bill. And she was like, oh, I know, I know why, I'm here. Basically, you needed to make my seat vacant so that you could run because you want to be senator or you want to eventually be president. I get it. I know what you like. She peeps Mellie's game. And
what was it she called? What did she call her? Bereft of morals or something like that. It was something.
Well, she said Mellie Grant has no character in this episode, she said. And I high-fived the shit out of my TV because I was like, Susan, you are so great. Like, she doesn't have any character whatsoever. It's like, what is this woman like about? What does she stand for other than herself? We don't know.
Thank you.
Yet I'm supposed to believe she should be president?
Right.
No.
Right.
Trash Lillian.
Trash that.
Yes.
Bucket.
Yeah,
swallow.
because I'm going to go back to, I believe it was Specs and Script who mentioned something about who stops a presidential interview to tell them that you have a crush on them. You're thirsty.
Parched.
I mean, I get it that they wanted to establish that they had this, this automatic chemistry, but it was just like really,
Precious.
And it wasn't, and you couldn't even wait until you were alone. You were already flirting while Abby and Cyrus were right there.
She was giving him the eye. It's like, you're unprofessional.
Right. Are you comparing yourself to Putin, Mr. President? Sit down, Lillian.
She might as well have rubbed her nipple. She was so forward.
Right. Okay, so moving on from Cash or Trash, what was a game-changing moment from this episode?
Me, Susan Ross deciding to run for president.
Yeah. Oh, I will go back to real quick Cash or Trash. Crash moment for me was when Lizzie is trying to convince her, and Lizzie's still yapping, and and Susan's like, she's already said no, and I think at least 2 or 3 times she says, "Okay, I'm going to take your advice, and I'm going to be more concise." No.
I loved it. I love Susan Ross so much because, everyone thinks she's sweet or naive, but this woman is whip smart, and she also knows how to stand up for herself. But she's never nasty or tries to be really tough and masculine about it. She just does it.
Yeah, she's not cutty. She's just very straightforward when it comes to it, because it's like, okay, I'm not going to demean who I am or lower my character. But I do need to let you know that you need to back off. You need to back up. That kind of situation. Okay, so I'm sorry. Back to game-changing moment. What was your game-changing moment for this episode?
You said Susan Ross becoming president. I knew, I don't know, I knew, but I was hoping, I thought Susan Ross has to run for president this season. It just has to, because she's the only one I feel can really snatch Mellie's wig in a presidential run. And Lord Jesus, I am so going to look forward to that and all the questions she's going to get about her book. I hope she gets skewered. I really do, because it's time for her to own up to some stuff. But my game-changing moment, gosh, I guess I would say, I don't even know if I would say that would be it. And I actually don't know if I have one. If there was a game-changing moment for this episode.
Well, for me, my game... Okay, my game-changing moment was Cyrus going to visit the town hall meeting for
Yes.
Francisco for Francisco Vargas, because that's when you realize that that goodbye, or that I'm done, was literal. When he said that to Fitz in the bedroom.
Yeah, it's like, I'm done, sir.
Yeah, I'm done. And Fitz says, I'm sorry too. And then he walks out the door, and it's like, you realize that he's moving on.
Is, yeah.
And it's like, and when you see the smile on his face, like, I've got a new crush. It's like, it's literally, he's moving on.
Yeah, I'm going after my new bae.
I'm going for my dreams. You're not holding me back anymore, Fitz. Okay, so we're doing.
That would be mine too. I can't believe I blanked on that. Yeah.
And Specs and Script, I agree. I agree with Specs and Script that another game changer was Olivia finally being honest with herself, for at least one reason why she left Fitz.
Yeah. So like I said, it's been happening piece by piece, each episode, like a little piece of her, of the fiction she has written for herself is starting to come apart through various people. And it's like really, really great and interesting to watch.
Are we?
No, Tula Rosebud. We're not supposed to believe that Olivia is trying to convince herself that that's why, because it's so much easier to tell herself that than it is to say, I did all those things because I love that man, and that was the only reason. That's the only way I knew how to love that man.
Yeah. And honestly, in terms of your part about Mellie was her out, like history was being changed. That's her truth, and that's her truth in this moment. That's not necessarily what we've seen in the past, but that may be her honest feeling, her honest excuse that she's making to herself. Because we all make excuses for why we don't want to do something.
And we all revise history for ourselves in order to live with ourselves, with our past actions in the present. We revise history for ourselves.
Because it's not just Shonda and the writers trying to change history. This is the character trying to change her history and make it seem like this was never my path. This was never what I wanted. When we know from the very beginning that she was they're both deeply, madly in love with each other. It's as much as they're separate right now, we know it's not over. We already
of course not.
Because we've seen them come back together in the past. So, I mean, to separate them completely is completely dishonest to what has been created and what's been shown to us in the past. But again, we didn't even know that Mellie knew about Vermont. So, it's stupid to believe that she wouldn't. She has access to her. What husband don't have access to their husband or wife's credit history? That would have to pop up.
And we know she routinely, we know from the past, her relationships with various Secret Service agents and getting information about stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, she found out about it.
Because although we haven't seen Hank in a while, somebody was clearly running their mouth, because it was still Secret Service involved in dropping her off. So, the helicopter driver could have told her. So
yeah, I'm sure she. But got all. No,
real quick, this is
we didn't know that she knew about the ring, but clearly she did.
Yeah, she knew about that too. So we're gonna call for questions and comments again. So, and like I said, we're dropping them in where we can fit them in. But now we're gonna move on to our characters. Who was your MVP for this episode and why?
Mine was the hooch that Mellie and
liquor. You know what? And this wouldn't be the first time the liquor has become a full-blown character.
The liquor this season, especially the drinks, have been really symbolic and important this season. Not like they haven't been before, but even more so this season. Acceptance, rejection, the passing back and forth when characters choose to imbibe certain drinks over others. It's been really, really important. And for me, I felt like that hooch was in some ways symbolic. It's two things. Olivia and Mellie passed that hooch back and forth like it was Fitz, because they were essentially talking about them, and he was the thing that was between them and the thing that kind of tethers their relationship. But the other thing is that
you're right, it was the third character in the room.
It was the third character in the room. But the other thing for me is that is Mellie's father's drink. And I think a lot of some of Mellie's issues that have come to the fore have stemmed from being left by her father for another woman. And clearly Olivia's daddy issues were projected all over the argument with her and Fitz, and even her cozying up to Eli Rowan right now. Still we keep hearing daddy issues. So it's like that was also being passed back and forth between them. Yeah, that's Mellie's father drink, to her, and something that she holds on to from him. And, Olivia imbibing on that because she has some issues from her father as well that's impacting, that she's carried forth into adulthood that are unresolved. So as tired as I am of Rowan in a lot of ways, and I said this in the thing I wrote for 509, I said Olivia has to explore her relationship with her father for real in order so she can see who he truly is. It's her only path to freedom and growth is if she reconciles that relationship. She can't move forward. She can't create a family with anyone before she does that. She has to really make a go of it. And B613 was the excuse before because he was, command. And so now she thinks maybe it's possible. So she's really trying with him, and he seems like he's trying with her, but we know it's never all there is when it comes to Rowan. And when he is comfortable with Olivia and her behavior, that means she is not a threat to him, and he feels like he can do whatever.
Right.
And you know what, my MVP, and again, I think we have a running theme here of inanimate objects. My MVP was Gettysburg.
Yes,
because it was our first time actually seeing the place, and the whole Confederate theme and all of that stuff was hilarious.
Union rings and freedom fries.
Union rings and freedom fries, and then of course this goes to our later question, but I'll hold off on the quote there because I loved it. It was hilarious from David. So who was your least favorite character in this episode, and why?
Well, I'm fairly consistent.
David.
Huh? Yeah.
David has not been the same since he gave that Citron card to Cyrus, and that was his white hat coming off, because he should have just took, to stay true to him being one of the purest characters on the show. He should have just blew everything up with that Citron card. But ever since he turned that into Cyrus and got himself up as far as being, what was his position? Not state's attorney or 88, something like that. And then he got to be attorney general and all of that.
He was a district.
Yeah, district attorney. That's right.
He was a district attorney at first, but then he upped his game. No, I wouldn't say it was. I don't think it was the Citron card that changed him. I think it was breaking up with Abby. I think it was Abby that breaking up with Abby and Jake giving him access to the B613.
Yeah, getting obsessed with B613. Yep.
Because I also and because I think that the breakup with Abby, if you remember from season 4, I think he was still in hopes that he was going to get Abby back. But when he realized that Abby was moving on, and she was basically told him to stop being a whimpering idiot or whatever she called him, and get something for yourself. Yeah. Get something for yourself. And then he realized that he could use the B613 files for him. So I think it was a combination of the breakup with Abby and the B613 files that really showed the switch over. But least favorite character for me was Lizzie. Because I don't know, I still haven't. I love Portia de Rossi, and I love her typically in her bitchy roles, but I don't know, something about this just isn't gelling for me yet, and I don't know when we're finally going to get to see her do something on her own as opposed to manipulating someone else to do it, because we know that she manipulated Andrew to a point, and they were kind of both using one another. But now the fact that she's taking someone like David and manipulating him to manipulate another innocent, that I'm hoping doesn't ultimately turn into a dark horse because of, because eventually we know she's going to have to find out that, David was working with Lizzie to manipulate her. So I just hope that that doesn't change who Susan is, because she is wonderful as she is, and still being able to put everything, because her, her quirkiness, her funniness, and I just don't see her switching over to the dark side. So I see her being hurt eventually, but I just hope she doesn't go to the dark side because she gets hurt. So right now, Lizzie is my... Oh, who's your MVP? I'm sorry.
Mine was actually, it was weird. It was Sally reading.
Oh my God! Yes.
She had that opening speed. Lovers of Liberty. I just love the way she said. Now, I'm sorry. Correct me. I'm trying to remember. Was this the one where she was talking about the? No, I think that was last episode where she was talking about the shit. Or no, that was last.
That
week,
was 512. Yeah, it smells like apple pie, hairspray, and manure, like America itself.
and that's why I love it so. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. So, any top? What are your top 2 character quotes from this episode?
Well, the Mellie Grant has no character thing from season.
Right.
Was one. The other.
Well, for me, it was David when he pretty much was like, well, you've got to get the union rings with the Freedom Prize, because union and freedom go together. Yes.
Yeah, I did like that.
I love that, because it was like, I love it. Onion rings, union rings. So that was a cute. So that was. I want to see a
whole menu. I should hit up George on Twitter. Ask him, does he have a menu for Gettysburger?
You know what? We'll do this next time. We'll freeze frame. I'll freeze frame, and we'll get it right off of the wall, because it was visible.
Oh, that's right. So, I don't know if and they are pretty good.
Oops, what happened?
She'll come back in.
She'll come back.
They're pretty good about, because they had an actual menu for the dinner for 501.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and okay. And I think like they tweeted a photo.
Here she comes.
A close-up photo of the menu on the plate at the event from 501, and it was nice stuff. So I know they like filled out that menu for Gettysburger. So I want to see it.
There you go. Welcome back. Okay, so now we've come to our Q&A section. If there are any questions or comments. Like I said, we've been grabbing a few as we saw them.
I didn't see any questions, just a lot of comments. Did you want me to read these comments?
Okay. Yeah, you can read a couple.
Let's see here. Scroll up. Spectin Script says Olivia needs to quit pretending like this man is going to be the father that she remembers from babyhood. He's a viper, and she has to come to accept that. He's never going to be a regular father. True that. MVP Cyrus, this is from Tula Rosebud. MVP Cyrus, because he got a new hustle. Tula Rosebud also says she hates David and Lizzie Bear.
Hey, baby girl. Hi.
And another favorite of mine is Guilty Please, saying every time she says "lovers of liberty," I start clapping like I'm stupid.
Oh my God, man! I would so watch Sally's show on Fox. Like I really
because you know what she'd be like a rich version of what's that woman's name? Nancy Grace.
Yeah. Oh my God!
She'd be a more refined version, a refined version of Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
So we're running a little bit over for this particular episode. So any final thoughts in these last couple of minutes in regards to the candidate?
I'm just looking forward to this race and the other candidates who are going to come out of that clown car for this presidency. So it should be lit.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to 512, wild card. So I'll give you the brief synopsis. Fitz is getting along swimmingly with Lily and Forrester until work wife Abby interrupts their makeout session in the back of the presidential limousine. Issues need to be addressed now that he's wild carding, and wild carding is the code word for a president at play. Abby wants Fitz to follow the procedures that are put into play during those times that the president is out to have a good time with a new lady. Fitz is appalled by the discussion. He orders Abby out of the limo and to never mention this in his presence ever again. In the meantime, Cyrus has put a plan into play to make his own candidate, Francisco Vargas, a household name. Needless to say, it works like a charm, and no one is the wiser that Cyrus was behind it all. So was the storyline for this episode compelling? Why or why not?
I'm going to give my time to the both of you guys on this. Y'all can split it. Y'all can split it.
Okay. Katrina?
I would say yes. I actually really, really enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode more than I did 511. I think, there's more development of what I said before about how characters are beginning to interrogate and question Olivia because they're moving on and she isn't, in a lot of ways. Except for decorating her apartment and decorating her body differently, and sort of like being really committed to work, but it's not like she hasn't ever been that way. So that more, and I think the other thing was seeing how Cyrus pulls off this hero moment with Vargas. I was just like, yo, this dude is really about this life and he wants this so badly. And I think I loved it also for what it reveals about America, particularly in the moment we're in right now with the presidential campaign and how it is real life that Donald Trump is about to be the Republican candidate. And I think what the episode shows is how, as a voting bloc, as a people, how easily manipulated people are, because there's no other reason. Yeah, and you can't say, oh, it's just TV, because like I just said, it is real life that Donald fucking Trump is about to be the presidential candidate. So the fact that Cyrus knew, hey, getting shot is going to cause sympathy in the same way that Rowan knew that killing Fitz's son would win him the election, that really people turn on emotion so quickly. And we have hundreds of, instances of that happening in this show with individuals. So that was great. I loved that. Just the whole Huck and Olivia thing. I loved those exchanges between them. And obviously Olivia being at dinner with her father and her being like, wait a minute. And all of those memories of these monstrous moments where he's been very unfather-like to her come swimming to her head. And this slow awakening to consciousness that's happening for her now that she's not dealing with her love life. So in some are you okay? This is good that she can deal with all of these. This is what I'm saying. She can deal with all of these underlying issues that she has, because without dealing with them, she can't fucking move on. She can't love anybody or be in a relationship with anybody. It's extremely irresponsible. So this is the stuff that needs to happen. And I was so glad to see the beginning of it percolating.
Right. I'm very, very, I was very much compelled by the storyline, and specifically appreciating, just the whole Francisco Vargas part of the storyline of, just watching, basically just watching Cyrus do a Frank Underwood, because ultimately he's behind the scenes manipulating the entire thing. And, and no one even knows it. I mean, poor Ethan, who was right there when they're kind of betting the whole thing, goes like, wow, that's the guy that we were looking into. And he never puts it together that this could possibly be, something that Cyrus has put into play. But of course, I don't think even though he knows that, even though he's had to play in the pond, in the dirty pond with Cyrus from time to time, in terms of Cyrus, telling him to go do things, or like for example, trying to get dirt on the senator, that one time that was played by Lisa Kudrow.
Oh,
when he sent him down there, he says we were poked. So he knows that Cyrus plays in the dirty pond, but it was still so funny that he wasn't. Okay, something's going wrong with Cassandra's seat, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can hear me, Cassandra, but it's saying something about there's some sort of network error, and to make sure that your connection isn't blocked by a firewall.
That's so in the background.
Yeah, the overall storyline was fire for me. So now it's time for Cash or Trash. And this, again, is where we talk about our favorite and least favorite moments in the episode. And if it's cash, it was on the money. And if it's trash, it should have hit the cutting room floor. So what were your cash or trash moments?
Well, you know that my trash moment is any moment featuring Jacob Hamilton Ballard. All of them are trash. And all moments are trash of Rowan talking about, basically, I'm so proud of you. You look at my daughter. Look, Mellie Grant, look at you. And you're so happy. Right. I was about to say something. Boy, bye. Get out. Get out. So it's complete trash for me. Just like big ass son living with him. What were you gonna say? I was gonna say my cash.
Well, go ahead with your cash, because I was gonna tell you what my cash was.
Okay. My cash, I have two cash scenes, and it's the scene between Huck and Olivia at OPA when she comes in and she's mad because she knows he's right, essentially, and she doesn't want to face the truth, and she has to. And he talks about her guy coming out, and I was like, yes! And I'm going to refrain from going back and saying all the times in which Olivia's guy came out, like 509, that was Olivia's guy.
There were so many times.
413, where she throws the fucking ring, Olivia's guy. Because even back then I was like, that sounds a lot like Rowan, all the shit that you're saying. Anyway, I could go on, but I won't. And so I was like, yes, fuck. I will also cash a scene where she comes into OPA in that all black, and she looked fucking sexy as hell. And she was like getting into the game. So for all you poor misguided folks out there who think that, Olivia is investigating Jake's girlfriend because he's jealous. The fuck she is. She is doing it. It's nothing to do with him. It's everything to do with the connection with her father. So I don't know how you missed that, but whatever. You missed a lot if you even think, but that's the thing. Can I say my last trash? My last trash, my last cash was Abby reaming Fitz in his own bedroom about his behavior and the fact that what he's doing with Lillian is bullshit. And he's just it's just like, what are you doing? You're just doing this because you can, because somebody shows some interest in you. And now she says, Olivia was real. You were going to spend your life with her. Like, what happened? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's a definite cash moment for me. Was just Abby just like, you know what? Again, just like with the phone calls, I'm not doing this with you. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. At the end of the day, you need to get on board because I'm trying to keep you safe, while you're trying to get your, it's like just the whole idea that she has to tell you that she has to make sure that, everything, your DNA is scrubbed from this woman's apartment. Right. And then that whole idea of him getting on the phone and calling Lillian anyway, it was very much like a rebellious teenager, like saying, okay, you can say what you want, Mom, but guess what? I'm going to call her anyway.
You know what? It makes can I just insert this really quickly? It makes a lot of sense that he is essentially being a rebellious adolescent, because the last time he was probably dating, like, for real, was not adolescence, but probably in his 20s. He's been with Mellie for like, they were married 23 years. They were dating and whatever before that. So let's just say 25 years with this woman, right? And even for the last 7 years, he's been dealing back and forth with Olivia in like very dramatic situation with two very strong women. He's gone through a lot of drama. The last time this man had like a carefree dating life was, in his extreme youth. So it almost feels like he's reverting back to the last time he knew himself as a free man, as a dating man, which would have been in his 20s before he met Mellie.
Right. So I'm agreeing. Someone said something, and I'm sorry it passed by, so I can't really get back to it. But Cassandra, if you could scroll back, and there's somebody said something about Fitz, I believe it was. But my cash moment for me was, there was a cash moment for me. It was small but brief, but realizing that Wayne Turner was the same guy from The Candidate who stood up and said, "We don't need your stinking education bill."
Yeah.
So then it made you connect where he came from, that he wasn't just random. It was like literally Cyrus was there to see him do that, and so therefore he was able to say, you know what,
got my patsy.
Let's find out who he is, what are his beliefs, and let's capitalize on that.
Yeah.
There was so much good stuff in this episode that was just amazing. So Cassandra, do you have any comments on Cash or Trash?
Yeah.
Cash, both Huck and Abby giving their prospective bosses the "Are you stupid?" look, like Huck saying, Huck's like,
run that back and listen
repeat
to it.
that. That doesn't sound right. Just run that back so you can see how ridiculous you sound. And Abby just saying, "Look, Fitz, I know you're a grown ass man, but you just can't be frolicking all over the White House
regular
or in
guy.
the limos.
You can't do this
without
precautions.
You can do that, but we need a plan. You can't just do whatever." My trash is both for Liv and Fitz. Liv talking about her father and Jake not being up to anything, and for Fitz just basically not realizing that he can't just do whatever the fuck he wants to do. You're the president. You can't just do whatever you want to do. And the fact that he tried to call Lillian and that fake kiss, all of that.
Like I said, it just had hotter moments with Cyrus and that kiss that he gave Lillian in that limo.
I know.
That was total trash. Limo, that opening scene in the limo.
But you know what wasn't trash? Getting to see the Fitz pack, like, in the bedroom. Yeah. That was cash all day long, baby.
Yeah.
And then we got to see Latino Fitz's like six pack as well. So that was awesome.
Right. They did that on purpose. It's like really. Okay, he got shot up in the upper shoulder, but you know what? Typically, you bandage him up, throw the shirt back on. Right. But they was like, here comes, we're giving y'all, Fitz too. We're giving you Fitz too. And but what's amazing too in the fact of that bedroom scene with Tony, with Fitz is, it's amazing to know that Tony is like 52, 53.
No, he's like 55.
Oh yeah, see, so that makes it even better that he's 55 and he's still sporting a six pack.
Anyway,
but anyway, but anyway, so let's say, so then for me, another cash moment. Obviously, we've all agreed on the cash moment of both Abby and Huck confronting their bosses. But specifically for me, although we've seen Huck kind of sort of stand up to Olivia, this is the first time he's ever strongly stood his ground. Usually he does the, he can hardly look at her. Once upon a time, it was always eyes down, and he's speaking his mind, but he's not really confronting her. But this time he completely confronted her and let her know what he thought, and he wasn't backing down. It's like, okay, back in the day, he goes, yes, one time he put his hands up around her throat. Yeah, he confronted her on that, but that was an emotional confrontation. This was a strong, I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
You want to know why? Want to know why Huck can be so confident in confronting her? Because Huck has pinpointed exactly what the problem is, and he has been through the fire. And he has come out on the other side. He knows who his trigger is, and he worked on it, and he succeeded. I mean, 509 was that for Huck. You know what I mean? Yeah. Confronting that trigger
when he literally got in his face and pulled did the same thing. It was almost a mirror effect of what he did to Olivia when he found out that Command was her father.
Right.
Like
that's
got that throat in hand and was like, I could choke you out, but you know what? I'm better than that.
Yeah, he said, I have your penny change. I know exactly what you want. And knowing that you want it and I'm not going to give it to you is like essentially so satisfying.
Because at the same time, he also knew if he crushed his windpipe and killed him, Olivia would... his relationship with Olivia.
Well, of course. The thing is, no one can kill Rowan before Olivia reconciles her issues with her father, because he will become a martyr in her eyes. She will beatify him, and we don't need that. Nothing will get resolved for her if somebody kills him. So that can't happen. Which also goes back to the reason why Mellie, when Fitz told her, I bet you wish she had died in that explosion today, and for the same reason. Yeah, you would nail her. You would the wood, the nails, the cross. You would put her on. Yeah, the wood, the nails. I love the scene, and it's true because until you get some kind of closure, you can't. And the thing is that. This actually could have closure right now with the way things ended, because, for all that talk about, we tried, which was bullshit on Olivia's part. It's like Fitz did try. You know what I mean? He did all that he could and all the moves that he was making. But the problem with Fitz is that sometimes Fitz is thinking of him first and what he wants to do, and not, hi, Livy. Hi, guys. This is Livy. Say hello. She has a collar on because she can't look herself. Yeah. Yeah. See, her coat is white and she's named Livy. We're not having this. Stop it.
She's growling. She's like, no.
They get jealous that the two of them do this with each other.
She's like, attention. I want attention.
Right. It's like, put me back in the spotlight. No. So no, what was, oh God, I got distracted. What was I saying?
It was about Liv and her father.
Oh, right. Yeah, basically about closure. Fitz, I was saying Fitz can actually, if he really wanted to, he can move on and have some closure, because on his part, he tried. He really did. Now, I do have some problems with Fitz. I do think that he is a little needy, and I think sometimes he puts his needs first without considering what's the impact going to be on the we here. But he doesn't do anything underhanded or dastardly in the relationship. So I feel like he can be a little bit more secure about kind of how things ended. Although Olivia sold some lies to him in that argument, letting him believe that he was holding her back, which for me is not the truth. In the same way that for me, Mellie's narrative about Fitz like holding her back isn't the truth. I'm like, Mellie, you held you back. Like, you're supposed to be smart. You were a partner at a law firm. You had all these capabilities, and you are the fucking most privileged like on this show. So don't tell me that there's things that you couldn't do because your husband was holding you back. Bitch, get out of here. Anyway,
because like Olivia said to her in 509, you're the biggest bitch I know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
What are you afraid of?
Exactly.
Okay.
Failing on her own. That's what.
Exactly. Anything else on Cash or Trash? I think we're done. What was your game-changing moment for this particular episode?
Tom and Cyrus.
Yeah,
that whole thing. I was like, what?
And we still don't know for sure what's going on there, but it was.
My eyes.
I don't know if it was a game changer or just a head turner, but it made my head twist almost backwards because I literally hollered out loud because I was like, when he said, "You can come out now," I'm like, okay. So him and Michael are hitting it off, and then Tom walks out, and he's like, in a towel.
Mm-hmm.
In a towel.
That was a moment.
I'm like, whole head,
22.
Whole head just.
It's right here.
Yeah,
it's right here. I'll figure out what's going on with that one. That one and Cyrus and Vargas standing on the oval.
Mm-hmm. That was a strong visual, strong moment, and a strong visual, and just Cyrus's the satisfied look on Cyrus's face.
That it all came together for him
as he watched him walk away, and there were a couple of satisfied grins on his face. Like oh my God, game changer. Another game changer for me was when Abby meets him in the hallway, and she's like, this whole Lillian, he's mad at me. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. This picture, there's a picture and blah, blah, blah. And Cyrus just so nonchalantly, well, if it were me, I would get the hero in the oval. I was like, you dirty dog. you just took it.
Brought him right to him, right exactly
to him.
where he wanted to be. Just like perfect setup. Like this.
And
worked out golden for Cyrus this episode.
Right. As if I've never seen you before in my life. Hi, pleased to meet you. You little Frank Underwood.
At Guilty Please. Thank you for reminding me of that. This was that was one of my Cash moments for me. The phone call between Olivia and Abby when Abby calls her, and there are all of these pregnant like silences, and Olivia basically guesses that, oh, you're calling because Fitz did something wrong, and then what did he do wrong? You know what, you don't want to know, and she figures out exactly what it is. And her face is so hurt, she has to like make up an excuse to get off the phone, and she can't deal. And it's like she keeps getting confronted with this every episode, like a little bit. Now, she's getting confronted about the way she left this relationship and the story she's telling herself about it, and also about the lies that she's been telling herself, like overall. And those kind of conversion this episode with Huck on the one end confronting her, and her finally having to go and own up to that. And like, basically, you're right. She doesn't say that, but the fact that she shows up and she's so angry means that she's hiding something, which shout out to Edison. We know that because of him. But, and also with Abby, we also see that, hey, you're fucking a guy twice on Sunday. Shout out to the Scandal writers for that. I peeped that. And and whenever you can, but not even mention the connection in your mind of the man that you left moving on to another woman hurts you so badly. Yet you didn't want him because whatever, you couldn't handle it or whatever, but you don't want him to move on. Everybody in this episode, if we could see, was moving on in some ways, and it's challenging. And it's like, Olivia, what are you moving on to? Right? Jake is like, I got my NSA thing, I got a girlfriend, whatever the hell he's planning for the future. Rowan is talking about his retirement and his kids. Even Quinn, that was actually a really special moment for me because I said this was going to happen. Just like last week on Twitter, like before, not last week, but before the episode, I was like, look, at some point Quinn is going to confront Olivia and it's going to be really good. Because even Quinn was recognizing that, hey, normal or a little piece of normal isn't so bad. Everybody in that office is trying to do that. Marcus is already like, he's the normal person in the office because he has connections to family. Quinn and Charlie are not just fucking. They actually have, like, he provides companionship for her. They talk, like he's able to help her. Her babysitting helped her to see a whole new way of life. Huck is trying to deserve to go back home to his family because that is what completes him. Olivia is the only person who's like stuck in this layer of what she thinks she's destined to be, and not challenging herself. So the fact that these two things like came at her this episode, just great for me.
Okay. All right. So real quick, we're going to be looking out for any questions or comments that we can address real quick before we wrap up in a few minutes. But we're going to move into our characters. Was there a favorite character, your MVP for this episode?
Mine was Huck, and for reasons I've already stated.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree there too.
Yeah. Abby and Huck were mine.
Yeah. Abby was strong in this episode too. I mean,
yes, she was.
I think it's a tie for MVP where Abby and Huck. Who was your least favorite character? We don't even have to ask you anymore, Katrina. We already know.
Mine was Fitz.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, he was a little shitty this episode.
No. Any
good who's leaving?
Specs has to go. But I would say no for you saying Fitz was your least favorite. Not my boo. I think because I'm always like, because like as mad as he makes me, I always know like where he's coming from. So I'm always like, you're getting on my nerves, but
I'll let you have it.
Yeah.
What are any top character quotes from this episode?
Huck's say that again.
Yeah, so you can hear how ridiculous it sounds.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I really love that one.
And
Abby's what's it? She said, "Stop threatening to fire me. If you're going to fire me,
I so agree with her.
Do it
like,
now.
Stop trying to pull that card
right now
because he's doing that all.
Because it's like it wasn't that long ago that you were calling me Gabby, so we got past that. Right. So now you can cut out trying, telling me that you're going to fire me. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I think Abby knows that she could go back to OPA if she really wanted to.
And I think she also knows that with Cyrus's, basically his absence, his present absence, that she's all he has. He's not going to fire her. At this point, she knows how essential she is, from the phone calls to the whatever. So yeah, fire me if you dare. But can I say, I know y'all said Fitz is was your least favorite. I want to say something I do respect about Fitz is that he will back down, but he has respect for women who stand up like for themselves. I remember when Lizzie in 503 came in and she was like, Mr. President, you can't go out there. And he gets all up in her face. And Liz looks at Olivia to save her. And Olivia gives her the knuck if you buck, like head nod. And she does. And Fitz has to like back down because she's like, no, this is what I mean. And Abby did the same thing. And he had to relent because he listened. And finally it was like, you're right. I'm, being irresponsible with what I'm doing.
Okay, just saw two questions come through. One question was regarding whether or not Jake really has a girlfriend, and is it Olivia or Mellie? I think it was made clear that yes, he does have a girlfriend, and
Not
yes,
Mellie.
she's investigating her because she wants to see what this relationship is really about. What is it that Jake is up to?
And why her father brought it up. Also.
And why her father brought it up.
Right.
The other question being, did anyone find it strange that Quinn actually believed she and Charlie were babysitting? No, because what reason would she have to disbelieve him? I mean,
and the kid was calling him Uncle Charlie.
Now, yeah, and eventually, I'm sure it'll probably come up because that something that big doesn't happen without eventually it coming forth that he had a kid. And, because that was the reason that Charlie turned the TV off. He didn't turn it off for the benefit of the kid. He turned it off for the benefit of Quinn, because had the kid seen his dad on TV, he would have said daddy, and then Quinn would have put two and two together. So without her having that piece of the puzzle to put together, she has no reason not to believe that he was actually babysitting.
Exactly.
I believe she thought it was ridiculous at first, but once she saw him interact with the kid, and I think Charlie genuinely did grow to like the kid, but it was a job for him. So it was like, okay, gotta send you back to your mom, and while I go collect my paycheck.
And he wasn't behaving strangely with the kid either. So what was there for her to suspect? He was behaving totally normally.
And then guilty pleased, I agree with you. Abby's quote in the limo, no, you don't know what wild card is. You don't know what wild card means because the universe hates us
both. Yeah.
Right. That was hilarious. So let's see. So now we have come to our final thoughts moment. And Katrina, you said you had you had lots of final thoughts on this episode. So
I feel like I've spilled them. I feel like I've spilled them already, but I liked where this episode left us because I think it sets us up for some really interesting things for the rest of the season. Obviously, there's going to be the whole presidential election thing. I feel like Fitz at some point has to get his mojo back and feel like he wants to accomplish something for the rest of his term. And I don't know how that's going to happen yet. I am really excited for the next episode where Olivia and Fitz finally see one another and how that's going to turn out. I don't know what's going to give Fitz that impetus, but I'm just really loving the relationships that are evolving through the episode right now. And some of them have been facilitated because of the breakup of Olitz. I should say the break of Olitz, because I'm sorry for people who are mad or people who don't believe, but they will be back together. They are the central couple of this story, and not just couple of the story, but the whole point I feel like is for Olivia to be able to embrace the real power of life, which is love. So she has to get to that point eventually. Anyway, for this episode, I think the most important thing for me for the way the series, the rest of the season is going so far, is that I'm finally starting to see some really good evolution in the characters. There's this idea of moving on, I feel, is really prominent in what's been happening and the ways in which characters are trying to move on and what they're doing in order to make that possible. Those are the most interesting aspects for me. And the fact that characters are seeing through and challenging and interrogating Olivia, not from a bratty kind of perspective, but a kind of girl, you're not fooling anyone anymore. I see through this. And so that is really good, because if she gets it from all different kinds of sides, she really doesn't have a lot of choice but to see that there's to face facts.
Right. And so this has been a really, really good time. I really enjoyed myself here on Blab.
Me too.
I think this is my first full-fledged Blab, because I think the last time I only got to use it once, and I got dropped out so many times that I just gave up. But I'll just tell you that at this point, we're about to conclude our Scandal podcast for March 5th, 2016. And if you like this new format, if you're enjoying the back-to-back-to-back episode reviews, feel free to hit us up on Twitter. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. Also, hit us up on Facebook. Again, you can find us just by typing in Scandal Podcast, and we'll pop up, and you can just tell us what you felt about the new format. We hope to come back unless we hear something different. We hope you'll join us again in 3 weeks on March 26th, where we'll be reviewing episodes 13, 14, and 15 of Scandal. And until next time, we just want you to pay attention and review where you can, because everything informs everything, no matter how
even
small.
The past.
The past informs the present so much. And like we said before, some of you may feel betrayed or feel like things are being rewritten. It's not the fact that the writers are rewriting. It's they're creating characters who are rewriting their own histories, who decide how they're going to feel about anything at any particular moment. Because I may feel like I'm just the most delightful person in the world, and somebody may feel like I'm a total asshole. And that's my sweetness is my story. So, I can't account for how somebody else may feel about me. So just know that we as human beings tend to write our own histories. And what were you going to say, Katrina?
Oh, no, I wasn't going to say anything. I was just agreeing with you. I was being snooty and said Mellie.
And also, I want to quickly address something else. I know that I said that I was going to open the seat to other people, but I just want to be honest and say that if we've never interacted with you and we've never seen you, because we have followers that we know, and and I know we're going to get new ones, but interact with us more on Twitter, interact with us on Facebook, and we'll be more than happy to open up a seat to you. But if we're not familiar with you, it's kind of hard to open up a seat when we don't know what we're getting. Yeah. So that's just honest. So don't hate me. Just know that we just want to know who we're talking to before we open you up to our
and we hope it's going to be a rotating seat for our followers and fans and people that we've interacted with. So it's nice to get a fresh perspective every time we do this.
Right. So you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, you've also some of you we know from Scandalistas and Scandalrates and probably other Facebook groups, as well as Katrina may know you from her Tumblr. Yeah. So
I see people on here that I recognize from Twitter that I've interacted with, and I know that they've been here.
Just make yourself known. Over the next few weeks, and maybe we'll be open to opening up that seat for you if it's available. Because at times, typically there's typically 4 of us, and like the whole point of us doing the 3-show format is because we have different schedules. Yeah. As most of you know who have been following us for a while, just know that Katrina is in the UK and is 5 hours ahead of us. So this weekend format is working out great for us because it just means that we can start earlier. We don't have to worry about people trying to rush home from work, and we don't have to keep Katrina up at all hours of the night so she can do this for you, because we love Katrina. We do. And she's our number one. She's my number one feeling. Hey, Cassandra, I want to thank you for coming on and helping us out this week. You've been one of our loyal followers for quite some time now.
Give us some hand claps, guys.
Yes, give her some hand claps, because this was actually outside of Twitter. This was had my first time to interact with her yesterday while I was at work on my lunch break, and that was great. And it was almost as if we've known each other forever, even though it was our first time speaking. And you, thanks for jumping in here. And hopefully next week we'll have. We'll never know for sure when Jaha might be able to join us again, but she's off building an empire, and she's doing her Cyrus thing, but she's doing it in a nice.
She's not killing anybody.
She's not killing anybody, but I'm sure she's doing her behind the scenes to change somebody's life, and her own. And so again, as I said, we're going to wrap this up. We're actually we're hoping to clip this off in an hour and a half. But you know what? It's a good show, and when you're enjoying yourself, time flies. So again, thank you so much. This concludes the episode for today. And again, join us on March 26th when we'll be reviewing 13, 14, and 15.
Thank you, guys. Bye.